Right. Second evening for tonight, everyone. Let's have a glance at assignment 2. Good luck with your other assignment later. So this is what we've got. Okay, so you are looking at my slides at Learning Unit 4. So let me just open my slides for Learning Unit 4. My So again, as always, trust my slides, have to trust my slides. So let's see if they've going to give us a break. And if I go stages, will it find it? Ah, okay, clearly not what the terminology is that they have. So in terms of the first one, um, there it is, guys. So you're looking at slide 9. So the first question is learning unit, or the first bullet there, learning unit 4, slide 9. Okay. So, yeah, there's nothing much more than that. So I have a feeling that this is one of those that you're going to have to do a little bit of extra research. I'll take you through the process. So it appears that it must be on page 350, but you can just verify that. I don't have the textbook nearby. I think I might have given the textbook to somebody to use. Hold on a second. And I have got the textbook. My apologies for that. So we're looking at Learning Unit 4. In terms of the domestic, if you think of how organizations essentially start, they start by the focus on specifically their own local market. And generally what will happen is a company would, if you think of Nando's started off locally in Rosebank, and we know the stories about how long the queues were, etc. What then happened is from going local, you generally will go regional. So that's in your domestic market. So initially, it's that kind of local to regional, to national. Then, once you've got your footprint and once you've got a brand that works, there are alternatives. They're looking at a manufacturer here rather than anything else. From there, you would start exporting. Now, in terms of export, and you'll see there are discussions around export, etc., and I'll take us there when we get there. It is either through an agent or direct exporting. I think once you've started creating a footprint in a number of countries, and once you started exporting to a number of countries, you become a multinational when your foreign sales essentially would make up 30% of your turnover. And then your global companies, and this is where you have a significant footprint across the globe, 80%, and then a transnational 90%. I mean, it's very difficult to find proper transnational countries because of some of the limitations imposed by other countries. But Google certainly would fit into that. I don't know whether Apple sales are limited in China and some other countries, but the process is that. So initially, in terms of exporting, either through an agent or direct export, and then obviously and your sales in terms of that. Now, yeah, they've not asked that question really nicely. So how much is that question? Let me just see in the rubric. 25 marks. 25 marks. Guys, you're going to have to do a little bit of extra research because I think that's all I have on that particular one. That's all I have on that. I don't think there's anything else. Uh, Let me just find it in the textbook. Anyone know what page it's on? Okay, yeah, unfortunately, that is it. That is it. So you're going to have to do a bit of extra research on that. The second one is a macro environmental analysis on Namibia. So we go and look here. Ah, flipping heck, why did I do that? We go and look here, and you'll see that there's quite a bit of discussion. So still learning unit four, where is the macro environmental analysis? Okay. So in terms of what we're going to look at from a Namibia perspective, to just go back there, in terms of the analysis, I think in completing this, please just give me a short description of each of those, a theoretical description of each of those, and we'll talk about that. And then go and look at what is available on the internet. Obviously, not all of this will be peer reviewed, but there is a lot of information on Namibia. The CIA, and I don't know now under the new lot in America, used to have a proper analysis of each nation, but there is a lot. You possibly will also be able to find quite a bit of information from their tourism bureaus, etc. There should be no issue in terms of finding specific details. This has to be done as a macro environmental analysis. So tell me what each of the definitions of these are, and then go and look at it in terms of the specifics. So you can look at the broader, but generally it's this kind of stuff that you would be concerned about in terms of Namibia. Namibia is very stable. It is one of the more stable democracies in southern Africa. In Africa, to be honest with you, they're also not a bad performing, considering that they have a small population, etc. In terms of the political legal, go look at what their laws are, how those laws will affect us. In terms of going there, what are the benefits? Are there things that they give us, like tax breaks, etc.? Economics, I don't know what their GDP is. I don't know what their growth rate is, to be honest with you. But those are easy to find, and you can again from there discern whether we end up with a strength or a strength with a threat or an opportunity there. Social, cultural, yeah. So how many different cultures, how many different languages, what are the sort of trends from a cultural perspective there? And then technology, yeah, you need to see what underpinnings there are in terms of distribution, in terms of having a website, in terms of internet use. How many cell phones or smartphones are there in the country? There's several ways of doing it. Yeah, shucks. And then, yeah, you can also use these slides, guys. There's quite a bit that is available here for you to use. Okay. So have a glance at that. It is a pestle analysis, so it's only the pestle factors that you're looking at there. So this will be quite a detailed analysis. It'll take yeah, quite a bit of writing, and I think Marty, this is where a lot of marks will come from. But we'll go through the rubric. I have an issue with the rubric already. And then the appropriate mode for going in. So again, we're looking at learning unit 4, and then the appropriate mode for entry. So I'm just having back here modes for entry. And that's completely up to you guys. I know what I would suggest. For me, it would either be franchising, a strategic alliance, a joint venture, but I still think franchising. But that's completely up to you in terms of the modes. Export, I don't think it's the right option, but that's completely up to you. Either indirect via some sort of agent, or direct in terms of yeah, setting up your own sort of outlets, getting it in, having some sort of link between where the items will be sold, etc. You can look at the advantages and disadvantages there. Yeah, licensing doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, turnkey projects are normally for manufacturers, and the actual reality of a turnkey project, in fact, is in its name. So it is setting up an entire production line so that all the people in the new country would have to do is turn the key to get things working. So you'd have machines, you'd have people trained, and they would literally turn the key to start the process. Strategic alliances, you can look at strategic alliances again. Yeah, I'm not too sure whether that's my option. I would stick with franchising, but again, I'm going to let you guys decide how you would do that. I'm not too fussed about that. And then arguments in terms of supporting your recommendation. So please remember, in terms of this, these arguments must be based also on what the environment is and what are in terms of the advantages and disadvantages of the approach that you believe. Any questions on that one? Marty, does that give you more of a sense of where the marks are? I, question 125. No, I can see the marks are there. I think a chunk of the marks will be in the analysis, okay? The pestle analysis.
Yes, that
Okay.
answers my question perfectly, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, boy. My apologies for not getting back to you. That is so not who I am, unfortunately. Okay. Right.
No, sir.
The second question, leadership styles. So we're going to learning unit 5. Again, trust my slides. Oh, in terms of learning unit 4, we are looking at slides. Oh my goodness me. So for the third question, it is slides 11 to 17. Guys, try and fit it into those. Okay, 11 to 17. I think that might be the best option for me between 11 and 17. You can decide. I still think 17 is possibly the best. And then for the second bullet point in terms of my slides, um, yeah, you can start almost looking from 28 right through to 36 slides, 28 to 36. Again, trust my slides, guys. That is fairly important. So this is learning unit 5. Let me just grab it. Strategic leadership. I might have to quickly have a glance at the question. My apologies. I differentiate between strategic, visionary, and managerial leaders. So the way to discuss it is to discuss visionary and managerial leaders first, and then to discuss strategic leaders. You'll see why. So obviously, managerial leaders, these are the kinds of leaders that essentially